Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Custom Carving and Epoxy UK. Just going to be a bit of a short experiment today, and the reason why is I've still got my a bit of that silicone sinker white that we made in the previous videos, and I've still got some alcohol inks out, and I've also got my chameleon alcohol inks that we made. And I realised I've not experimented with these really with UV resin. So that's what today's experiment is going to be about. If you haven't watched the last video where we got this Halloween inspired bloom, which came out absolutely perfectly, and I did a review of the new Resin's bubble removal machine, which went really well, so go back and watch that if you haven't. But before we go any further, let's get straight onto the experiment. Also, just thank you everybody for subscribing. Makes a massive difference to the channel. We've gone over, I think, 6,600 subscribers now. I really want to push to get us to 10,000, so if you can, do me a favor. If you're liking the content, just take 2 seconds, push that button down there and subscribe. So for this, you're going to need some UV resin. You're going to need some white sinker with a few drops of silicone oil mixed in, and you're going to need your alcohol inks. So I'm going to be using the Let's Resin 26 pack of alcohol inks, and I thought it'd be fun to experiment and do. I'm only going to be doing 2 of each, so I'm going to probably do 2 of these because they're my favourites, and 2 of these. I'm going to try and do the Petri effect, I suppose, with the alcohol inks in UV, but I'm also going to try it with this silicone sinker white to see if we get a different effect. So I'm just going to, first thing to do is just to fill these, I think about, well, most of the way, probably 2/3 of the way up. Make sure your molds are clean as well. These are, I have cleaned them, but for some reason, you just get that little bit of white residue and lines, which you don't want in your mold. So make sure you clean it. I've got a brand new UV lamp as well, because the other one I felt wasn't curing properly. You've got to remember, on your UV lamps, the bulbs only last so long. So just going to fill these probably 2/3 of the way up, first of all, with this hard UV resin. And hopefully we're going to get some interesting effects. But as I say, that's what it's all about. It's about experimenting and seeing what effects we get. So I want to leave a little bit of space for the alcohol inks, and then possibly a little bit of space to add a backing at the end as well. Now, you have got to be cautious when you use alcohol inks with UV resin, because it really doesn't like alcohol. But personally, I love the effects that you get using it. The only problem is you sometimes find it doesn't cure properly, and then you're left with a blobby mess. But hopefully that won't happen today, and hopefully we'll get some interesting results. I do think I'm pushing the boundaries a bit as well, because I'm also, as well as using the UV resin and the alcohol inks, I'm going to be adding silicone oil to the mix. So that's something else to perhaps prevent it from curing, but hopefully that won't happen. But you don't know until you try these things. That's the way I look at it. So there we go. They're filled about 3/4 of the way, which is where I want them. So there's still a bit of room for the alcohol inks. Now, what you always want to do is, there's some tiny bubbles I can see in there. So I just want to try and get those to the top if I can, because the last thing I want, if I do come out with a really good effect, is a bubble in the resin. And with the UV resin, I don't really put it in the bubble removal machine. Maybe that's something I can try as well, and just see if that makes a difference. I don't know, let me know in comments if you've done that before yourself. Just pop in any of those surface bubbles. And I don't mind the odd tiny one, because, as I say, this is just an experiment. But again, if you can get them out, you're better off getting them out at this point. And all I do is just tease them to the top and then get them with the lighter. Especially if there's any that are dead central, because they all be stick out like a sore thumb. And there we go. Again, this lighter I found really useful rather than the typical long nose lighters, just because it doesn't run out as quickly. and it's refillable. And I found with those long nose lighters, they literally went within 2 or 3 uses. So for me, that wasn't good enough. So what I am going to do is I'm going to try, I think, the first 2 just with my chameleon alcohol inks that I've made in a previous video, which is basically chameleon powder and 99% alcohol mixed up with a ball bearing in a bottle. I'm just trying to think here, actually, have I got enough pendants if I'm going to try this as well as the standard Petri? Probably not. So I'm going to go for 6 then, in that case. We're going to have these big circles as well, providing I've got enough UV resin left in this bottle, which hopefully I have. So these 2, I'm just going to use the chameleon alcohol inks and see what effects I get. Probably use some black alcohol ink as well, just because I think that will make them pop. We all know with chameleon powders and things like that, black really makes them pop. So I'm going to see what kind of effect that has. Just in these 2. And as I say, it's just a fun experiment. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then at least I know. There we go. So, right, so with these 2, I'm going to go in with the alcohol inks. I'm going to not put too much in there, but just a few drops of each. So 2 drops of each of that one. 2 drops of each of this one. And I might actually add a bit more in a second as well, just because I want to try and almost build up a layer. And then this one is the blue one. Always shake these as well, because otherwise all of your chameleon powder just stays at the bottom. And it still dances around, but it is a very different kind of effect on UV resin. And I'm just hoping I can get these to cure. It's already creating a pretty cool effect there, just by mixing the different chameleon inks. Now that's a lot of alcohol. So again, I'm just praying that these are going to cure. So one of them, I'm going to go in with this silicone white sinker. And just put a few blobs around, not too much. I do want it to ideally cover most of it though, because I think that's how we're going to get these different effects. And then this one, I'm just going to go in with some black alcohol oil, alcohol ink, sorry, not oil, and see if it has any kind of effect. With just a few drops. And you can see how weird it is when it sinks through the chameleon alcohol inks. So that's those pretty much done for this experiment, and I'm just going to pretty much leave them like that for a minute and see what happens. Now the next ones, I'm going to try these 2 with the standard sort of Petri effect. And I'm going to try and do them as similar as possible. And again, we'll go down here with this as well, because I actually really like this peach red colour from Resin, even though it is pink, and I'm not a massive fan of pink in real life. So there we go. I'm going to go in with a bit of turquoise. and then a yellow and a blue, if I can get them all in. And I haven't opened this blue, so I'm going to have to get a different one out of the pack. But yeah, let me know in comments if you think this is going to work or not. I know alcohol inks don't typically go very well. I'm going to use the sapphire blue with the UV resin. And the main problem people have is with curing. But I like to experiment and see if we get some different results. So I'm going to use the same silicone white sinker on this half. Again, I'm going to try and cover the whole piece. And then on this half, I'm going to just use the standard C deeper that you get in the Let's Resin pack. I just hope these cure, because it looks like they look really cool at the minute, the colours. Now I'm actually going to leave these now to just sit, and I think that's one of the keys when you're trying to get the Petri effect in UV. I'm going to let them sit for around about 10 minutes, just so that that sinker has time to hopefully push down a little bit and create those effects. So we're going to come back in 10 minutes, do the swirl, and then give them a cure. I might try this again as well with doing a small bit at the front and pre-curing it, but for now we're going to see what happens with these. So I'll see you in about 10 minutes. We'll do the swirl and then we'll cure. And we are back, and it's been about 10 minutes, so I'm hoping that will have given the white sinker enough time to actually have an effect on these. I don't know, but we'll see. And don't forget, if you're liking the content, if you like these experiments, if you like the channel, just do me a favor, like, subscribe, put something in comments. It makes such a difference to the YouTube algorithm. Basically what happens is when you do that, it shows that you're liking the content and YouTube promotes it to more people, and that helps the channel grow overall. So if you can, it'd be a massive help if you can do that. Also in the description, there are links to every product that I use pretty much, and if you use one of those links, the channel gets a small commission. Doesn't cost you any more, but is a massive help to the channel. So if you can do that, it would really be appreciated. And once again, thank you to everybody who's subscribing so far and viewing the content and the nice comments we've had so far. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm using one of these long skewers rather than a toothpick, just because I find it easier when I'm doing the camera work to use these. So I'm going to start off with these two, and I'm just going to do a very standard swirl. So I'm going to start at the outside and come in with these. Again, you're not wanting to go all the way down to the bottom, because you don't want to scratch your mold. One of the worst things you can do is actually scratch that mold. And I'm just hoping that these cure. Always wipe off your stick as well before you move on to the next one. Again, same with these. I'm going to try and do the swirl in exactly the same way. And try and get them as similar as I can. And I'm just hoping, as I say, we get some form of Petri in the UV, because I know it's meant to be quite difficult to get. And I've not tried it before, so that's the thing. I always like to try things that I haven't done before, just to see if they work and if I can get any kind of effect that I've not done before. And there we go. They're not quite the same, but they're as close as I can get it with the swirl. And now I'm just going to cure them. As I say, brand new UV lamp this, so hopefully it should be powerful enough. And look at those colours under the UV. Love that colour. Especially under the UV light, it really pops. So I'm going to do it for 2 minutes both sides. And I've just noticed actually with this UV lamp that I got, it's exactly the same as my old model, but my old model was 60 seconds and 120 seconds. This one's only 30 and 60. So I'm going to have to probably do 2 rounds each side. And I hope it's going to cure and we're going to get some cool effects because you won't know with UV resin, especially when you use alcohol, until you demold. But I'm loving the colours that I've got in those coloured ones, and I'm intrigued as to if this silicone oil has made a difference in the UV. But I don't know. Let me know what you think in comments. Let me know if you think this is going to be a success or if it's going to be a blobby mess. Which unfortunately some of our experiments do. And that's the thing when you experiment, it doesn't always work, but it's just a case of trying new things and seeing what happens and what results we can get. Again, I would like to try one of those big lamps that I've seen on, I think it was Daniel Cooper's channel, where it's like 48 watts, because I think that power would make a big difference when you're curing the UV resin, but I haven't got one as yet. So I'm just using these little nail ones, which I think is what most of us when we're working with UV resin use. So if I can do it with this, so you guys should be able to too as well. Still haven't mounted this chili onto a chain yet either that I did in the previous project, but I absolutely love that effect with the 2 little bird's eye chilies in there. And actually the fact that I didn't dome it, I really like, because you can actually see and feel the chili through it. But that was a great little experiment. I'll be doing more similar ones, I think. And then from the last experiment as well, that seahorse came out really well, which was just the spare white sinker from a bloom with the alcohol inks directly into the mould, and I think that came out so natural, and I love the detail you get on these as well. So I'll definitely be doing more of those, and I think I've got a bit of an addiction to these at the moment, which is teddy bear key rings. But look at that, the back almost looks like a neon disco, and then you turn it around as well. It's absolutely stunning, that. So I need to get those turned into keychains, which I'm going to do this weekend, and I'm also going to list them on the website, on the Etsy shop. So if you like the look of these teddies, got loads of different styles that I've done over the course of the past few weeks with different experiments. They will be listed on the Etsy shop, which is Carvings and Epoxy UK. So feel free to have a look on there if there's anything you like. First 10 customers on there as well will get a freebie thrown in, a bit of a surprise. So I'm trying to grow the shop as well as the channel, so have a look. So this is, both sides have now had, well, sorry, the top side has had 2 minutes. I'm just going to turn it round and do, oh, that's what I didn't want to happen. I wasn't careful then. And as you can see, that one clearly didn't fully cure with the black alcohol ink and has gone everywhere. So there you go. Be more careful than I was. But hopefully these ones will look like the curing. So I'm going to see what effect we get. And what I'm probably going to do with these as well is just put another layer of clear UV resin on top, just to make sure that everything is sealed. Because that's the risk. When you use alcohol and when you use UV resin, the risk is that it doesn't fully cure. And I've had a piece that hasn't fully cured, put it on a windowsill by accident, and it completely bled out all over my windowsill. And as you can see, that one with the black alcohol ink isn't curing at all. So yeah, lesson learnt with that already. The others seem to be curing though. So I'm intrigued as to what these are going to look like from the front. And I'm just wondering if I'm going to need to open a new bottle of UV resin or if I've got enough. And if you can see just there in the mold, they shrink a little bit when you cure them as well. So just be a little bit careful. And I can see on this, we've almost got a bit in the center where it looks like it hasn't cured. And there. But I am going to give them another go because I think this will cure. The black one won't. Because it's all over the mold. I'm going to have fun cleaning that up, I think, in a second. Just going to give it another minute. And then I'm going to give it another minute on the backs. It's actually quite annoying that this is only a 60-second one. I might get my old lamp out in a second. And I don't know if we will have any kind of Petri effect in these whatsoever. But I like the colours, so that's a good thing. It gives almost a transparent look there. And what I might do actually is just mix up a tiny bit of resin with some resin dye. Because I haven't tried curing that yet. But I think I'm not going to go black. I'm going to go blue. Don't know why. Just my gut is telling me blue would be better. I've not tried these in any project yet. So these actually came with the resin from Let's Resin. So I don't know if you can use them properly in UV resin or not. But we're going to try. I'm guessing these won't have been popped with a pin. So I'm just going to pop that, and then I'm going to pop some of that with some UV resin into one of these cups and mix up some of this blue, hopefully. And where are those little pins when you need them? You can never find them. Okay, so that's now opened. So I'm going to try and get as much out of this bottle as I can. And if I need to open a new bottle, I will. I suppose this is another part to the experiment because I've never used these colour dyes in UV resin either. I knew it was coming to the end of the bottle. But I might see if that's enough. Because I don't want a lot of a backing, but I just want a bit of a backing on there. With something with a slightly darker colour. Yeah, don't do what I just did. And I'm just going to try, I think 2 drops should be enough. And I'm going to mix that up. Just so it's not, oh, I like that actually. Just so it's not completely clear. But obviously the shouldn't have any problems really curing this with the UV lamp because it's still very transparent and not opaque. So just going to give that a minute or so to just debubble and try not to put that straight in front of the lamp because it will cure. So let's see if it's going to cure. I'm going to put 1 more minute, I think, on the other side as well. But I think that extra minute or so seems to have cured this side from what I can see. Even that black one started to cure now, so that's good. So I'm just going to, and the great thing with these lamps is just fold them down. And then it makes it easier to do the underside. But it looks like it's cured, so hopefully we'll still get a decent effect from the ones that have. except for that black one, which will end up going in the bin, I think. And the only reason I wanted to add some sort of back is they're very, very transparent looking at it in certain areas. So I just think by adding a bit of a back, it's going to make a bit of a difference. I just hope we don't turn out with blobby messes at the end of it, but we'll see. So just moving this out the way for a second. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of this blue UV resin to the backs. And just let that cover them. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some salvageable pieces. And if you've not quite got enough, like I haven't there, once you've mixed it, don't be afraid to open up some more resin and add more. But I didn't actually want a very thick back, so we might get away with this. I want to be quite quick, and you've got to be careful when you're pushing it to the sides, because when it cures, it pulls inwards a little bit, and what I don't want to happen is this backing to seep down the front and ruin any effects that we might have. I just want this to give it a bit of a backing so that we haven't got that translucency coming through it. But on a positive note, they do feel cured. So hopefully we'll have a bit of a success. I can always neaten these up and add another layer as well. But for now, I think that will do. And again, the easiest way to clean these out as well is once you've mixed them, just cure it. So cure it under your lamp, and then when it cures, you can just peel the resin off them, which is a lot easier, and then you can reuse them. Because the last thing you want to do, and not everybody knows this, but the last thing you want to do with resin is pour it down your drains. It will block your drains. So be warned, don't do it. And again, let us know in comments, guys, if you've got any ideas, any experiments that you want us to try out that you've been thinking about yourselves. I've got one coming up that I'm going to do this weekend. Somebody asked me about putting rice in resin with mica powder to see if it colours the rice and what sort of effect that has. So I'm going to nip out to the shops and get some white rice and see what effect that has. But yeah, I'm intrigued as to what effects, if any, we're going to get from this. And I know that I've already ruined one piece by moving it a little bit haphazardly, but it's all part of the fun. And I am going to get onto Temu about this, because it's the same lamp that I bought with the last one, but this is only a 30 and a 60-second one. And really, most things that I'm going to be doing with UV resin, I'm going to need to cure for more than 60 seconds. So I think they've sent me the wrong model, to be honest. And then just going to do the underside for one more minute to be hopefully sure that it's cured. And then we're going to demold. And that's one of the things I love about working with UV resin, is how quickly you can actually demold. So 2-part epoxy, you've usually got to wait till the next day unless you've got the 4-hour quick curing epoxy, which I don't have at the moment. And with this, as soon as you're done, you can demold, which is quite exciting. And I've just got some water ready to do the final cure, which is a water cure. And that should make sure that the whole thing is completely cured. And what I'm going to do is demold these straight into the water. So we will see if we have a blobby mess or not with any of them. I hope not, because it's an absolute pain to clean. And all I'm doing is turning the UV lamp on, putting it up against the water, and then I'm going to try and demold straight into that water and see what happens. And then we're going to take a look at these and see what, if any, effects we've had. And if they've cured. And I've now got to clean my mould. I always give them a bit of a stir in the water as well. It just makes sure that the UV rays get to every part of it. And the reason you do this is to stop the stickiness. So a lot of people with UV resin really struggle when they demold with it being quite sticky. I'm hoping that these have firstly all cured, and secondly I'm hoping that they're not going to be sticky. And it's just an extra couple of minutes in the water, which should completely cure them. Just going to move this mould out of the way and then get a microfiber cloth ready to just give them a wipe over, and hopefully we get to see some good results. I can see that pink or that peach red really popping already through the cups, so I'm excited to see that and see if we have any effects. And if they've cured. More to the point. Right, so I'm just going to empty the excess water out, and then I can empty them all out onto the microfiber cloth and give them a dry, and then we can look at them all at the same time, hopefully. And you want to use a microfiber cloth rather than using kitchen roll, because kitchen roll can scratch pieces. So here we go. I'll find out in a minute if this is full of UV resin that they didn't cure properly. Don't know. We'll see. They feel cured. So even the black eventually did cure. Didn't really create any effect apart from being a blobby mess that was thrown all over the place. And actually it did come out with something which surprises me. The way that I threw that around. So we might as well have a look at that as well. But I don't know if we'll have got the full Petri effect on it, or if that silicone white will have made a difference or not. But we're going to have a look. The good thing is, I think they have cured. So that's a start. So, take my gloves off for this part, and then I will know if it hasn't cured. So this is that black one that was just a mess that I ended up throwing all over. But actually in there, that's got a pretty cool effect. You can see the chameleon powders, and you can see the black backing from the alcohol ink. If I did it again, I would probably try that with a black pigment rather than the alcohol ink. Next we're going to have a look at the little white one, which was with the chameleon alcohol inks and the silicone oil white sinker. And again, it's worked. It's cured. It's still got a bit of silicone oil on it. I can feel it. And that's the thing with the oil. It stays on until you rub it off. But it feels like it's cured. Pretty solid. And actually, I quite like that effect. It's almost like a galaxy cloud, I would say. And that was the silicone oil white sinker with the chameleon alcohol inks. Right, we'll go with these circles next. Just giving them a rub, get any of that excess moisture off. So, well, we did kind of get the Petri effect. So this is the one with the silicone oil white sinker. And if you look, we have got that Petri effect, and it has cured. So that answers that question. You can do it in UV resin. Now that was the one with the silicone oil. This is the one that wasn't in the silicone oil. And again, that's kind of created the effect, but just not as pronounced. Still pretty cool though. But actually I prefer the one with the silicone in. And then we've got the ovals, so that was the standard. Again, looks pretty cool. Not really Petri effect though, it's more of just colour mixed, I would say. And then I'm hoping this big oval will be the best. We'll soon find out. Wow. See, that made it worthwhile. That is lovely. We've got the Petri effect, got the swirl in UV resin. Let me know what you think in comments, but I'm loving that. I think that'll make a gorgeous pendant. Try and get some close-ups of this one as well, because that is actually, say it's done with UV, that's one of the best effects, Petri effects I've had, I think. Little tiny bit where it's blobbed along there, but absolutely stunning piece that. And I love the depth in it. So that was the standard alcohol inks, and then we backed it with the silicone oil white sinker, and I think that's what's helped create that Petri effect. But yeah, I love that. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.